So I just did a UFC 324 countdown reaction last night, right? And put it on my other platform. This countdown for Patty and Justin Gaethje might be one of my personal favorites, only because of one specific thing that you really don't see in a countdown. But hey, it's your boy DHP, and y'all know the rest, man. And hey, so this is my 324 countdown thoughts and summary video for this platform of YouTube. Unfortunately, I can't show the footage because y'all know how shit is with the copyright, all that other shit. But just real quickly, I'm gonna just go over my thoughts and summaries and shit like that. But one of the things I really like about the 324 count, and I said it on my reaction, go check on my other platform. One thing about this countdown is that they added, and I'm gonna put the picture in the thumbnail, Trevor Wittman. You really don't see, now sometimes you will see like a fighter's upcoming, like when there's a big fight night, and I said this on a reaction video, when there's a big fight night coming and they do the UFC journey features, more time, at least about 7 times out of 10, you see these niggas background and the niggas that coach them up and they sparring partners, because the big fight nights are usually for the niggas that's like, it's not necessarily, half the times it's not like the main top 3 contenders. It's more so the niggas that's like, now they on the radar to become a legit title contender, and they on the rise, they up in the ranks, right? And I mentioned Ian Gary, that one of the big fight nights I mentioned, because I remember specifically, was Ian Gary and Carlos Paredes, because that whole feature with Carlos, you know, him and his mother, how Carlos got into smoking cigarettes and all the other shit about Carlos. There was a lot of shit about Carlos in that feature where I'm like, okay, now it makes sense for why he's, because Carlos, if you know Carlos Paredes, he's a Muay Thai practitioner, right? That UFC journey feature explained how he got into Muay Thai, the relationship with his mother, and even him, you know, we all know like the running memes of, you know, especially what Islam said about the Nutella and then the smoking cigarettes. Like they even showed like how he got into smoking cigarettes, shit like that. So that was dope to see, like the background of Carlos Paredes. You really don't see a lot of that in the countdowns. It's more so like the fighters, like you see them, the sparring footage, the build up for the fight, the trash talking, and then you see their personal life, right? But you really don't see the niggas behind the scenes that's coaching these niggas. Like Trevor, and we're gonna talk about Trevor Wittman for 324. We all know about Trevor Wittman. Like, cause let's be honest, Marty Usman, I said in the reaction video, Marty Usman wouldn't be as good. I'm going on record to say Marty Usman would not be as good if he didn't get with Trevor Wittman. Because Marty Usman, he was good, but when he got with Trevor Wittman, he became much more of a beast all around. Like, if you look at Marty Usman before Trevor Wittman, he was going to be basically a guy who will stand and strike with you, but it's only disguised in his grappling, because he has his wrestling and his grappling is very good. But the moment he got with Trevor Wittman, you can see the transformation in his striking, from the way he set up his 1-2s, his technical ability, the way he come at angles. You know, he's not just all looping punches like Michael Chandler type shit, right? You can definitely see the transformation of the way he was striking niggas. And then at times, Marty Usman, the way Trevor transformed and worked on Marty Usman's striking and you know, and his kickboxing, more so his boxing, but his inside and outside boxing, Marty Usman, he didn't have to beat you with his wrestling, because Marty Usman's come up was his wrestling. And then with Trevor Wittman, he didn't have to beat you with wrestling. He could just beat you just standing there and striking you. Now, obviously, that caught up to him with, it was a lucky shot, but, you know, there's a lot of fights that gone down in history. Boxing, MMA wise. There's a lot of fights that go down like that, but eventually it caught up to him. But y'all get the drift. But Trevor Wittman, him being in this countdown for Justin Gaethje, and they highlighted Gaethje, they highlighted Doug Rose, because I'm gonna be honest, Doug Rose, and me and Cuzzo talk about this all the time. Pat Barry ruined Doug Rose. If Doug Rose just would have stick with the game plan with Trevor Wittman, Doug Rose, I wouldn't say she would still be champ, because later on we found out how much of a beast Weili Zhang was, but she would have been champ this whole time in a dominant fashion up until she met Weili, because Weili took the belt off of Jessica Andrade. Let's not forget about that. And I feel like Doug Rose, during that time before Weili started to really break out and emerge as a dominant champion, Doug Rose could have been that that title holder that whole run, But she was with Trevor Wittman, but she majority of the time listened to Pat Barry, and Pat Barry was the reason why Doug Rose is still a beast, and she still is one of the most accomplished women MMA fighters in the UFC. But Doug Rose could have did way more if it wasn't for Pat Barry. So it was nice to see Trevor Wittman, because you really don't see this a lot, especially to the casuals, or just not even the casuals, but to the new fans that really don't know a lot about the niggas on the inside that's behind the scenes, like the nutritionist, your sparring coach, your strength, your conditioning coach, and even some of the sparring partners to a degree. And I feel like Trevor being highlighted in this countdown was much needed, because all these niggas that Trevor Wittman has as clientele, they're beasts. They're wonderful beasts of a mixed martial artist. But Trevor geniuses and his knowledge about MMA took them to a whole different level. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, if I had to cross over sports, right? It's kind of like, what's a good analogy? What's a good analogy? I want to do a mainstream sport, but I'm going to do a sport that I know, that I watch a lot and I have very knowledgeable. So like the sport of dirt bike racing, right? Supercross and motocross. There was a racer. He actually is one of my favorites. There was a racer named Ryan Dungey. He was good. He was a good dirt bike racer, right? But he won his championships when, right or wrong, he won his championships when the guy that was better than him always got hurt, and he was unable to compete, right, and line up on the gate. But the moment he got with a trainer, and this is when the guy that he was always losing to, he ended up retiring. But when he got with a trainer called Alden Baker was so good at that time as a trainer and as a riding coach. He took Ryan Dungey, who was already good, to a new level. Like, Ryan Dungey pre-Alden Baker was already good, and then Ryan Dungey with Alden Baker was just such a machine that could not be stopped at all. And it took the next generation and also a neck injury to stop him. So, and going back to MMA, the sport of MMA, that's what Trevor Wittman was for a lot of these niggas in the UFC. You know, you can kind of say the same thing about Greg Jackson, but then again, that's low key. You could kind of say the same about Greg Jackson, because before that whole camp, you know, just obliterated with stallness, I'ma say, they was doing pretty good. If you take John Jones out of the equation, I can't really put John Jones in the equation, because John Jones is just one of one. Like, he's just such an anomaly that you can't really exclude him. I mean, that you really can't include him in. But you can say the same about Greg Jackson. Javier Mendez with Team AKA. You know, did a good job with them, with Kane, DC, Luke Rockhold, Khabib was part of that group, I believe. But yeah, Javier Mendez. So it was nice to see Trevor Wittman get highlighted like this, because you can't really tell the whole story or of how these niggas' careers started and took off in the UFC without Trevor Wittman, especially for the certain fighters that he took on as clients. Marty Usman and Justin Gaethje already has a name in the sport of MMA with his highlights in the World Series of Fighting, but in the UFC when he got with Trevor, or like boxing, like Freddie Roach, like the most popular coach in boxing is who? Freddie Roach with Pac-Man. You know, like, you can't tell the whole story about somebody's career without telling the last half of the other half of the story is they coach. And so how niggas feel about Freddie Roach and boxing, you know, with Pac-Man and all the others, that's how Trevor Wittman is to Marty Usman, Justin Gaethje, and Thug Rose. So it was pretty nice. It was pretty nice to see Trevor Wittman get highlighted in that manner. But other than that, it wasn't really, the countdown itself was kind of the same. I was looking forward to see if there's a difference between the Paramount production and the ESPN production, but it looks like it's just the same, to be quite honest. I think the only difference that we probably going to see is just the presentation during the fights versus what ESPN, because I think now with Paramount, I think with Paramount now we getting like different angles in the live action with the cameras. So I think that's probably the only thing we're gonna see is just, I was hoping to see different production in the countdowns, but it's just the same. But or maybe because, and we're gonna see what it is for 325's countdown with Volk and Diego Lopez for the rematch. But maybe with the Paramount production team or whoever does this, maybe they go in a different direction where they start highlighting other shit that we normally don't see. So Trevor Wittman, that was actually the first step. Like, this was 324 countdown with them highlighting Trevor Wittman. That was like the first time that I can remember that a countdown, not a UFC journey, because you see shit like this on a UFC journey because of the fighter upbringing and they're up there and they're rising to the ranks. You really don't see this in a countdown. So I can't remember a countdown like this other than maybe DJ and John Dodson too. But even with that fight, DJ and John Dodson was on a fight night card back then. They was headlining a big fight night card as a title fight. So you can't. Was it a fight night card or was that the pay-per-view? One of those. I think the first fight was a fight night card, and then the second one, I might be getting them mixed up. But regardless, the last time I seen something like that was DJ and John Dodson. I mean, we see it. You could kind of say we saw it with the Petriana and Marab countdown with 323, but not like this. Not like this. It was more so Petrian, him watching film with his folks to see if he can adjust for Marab for this rematch. It was nowhere near the highlighting of Trevor Wittman. But nonetheless, yeah, I just want to speak on that. I really love how they highlighted Trevor Wittman. I can't say it enough. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here and tell my next video, because I may come back tomorrow with we're back to, now that UFC is back, we're back to the respective videos, and we got plenty more, and I know I keep saying it, but we got plenty more content on the way, because there's a lot of fights going on. Even with the UFC coming back, there's other fights going on too, and I'm gonna talk about that. But till my next video, I'm gonna holler at y'all niggas later, man.